Hey everybody, this is Larry, and you are listening to the Hobby Progress Network. Today we're going to be doing a little bit with Warhammer 40k, and we're going to call this the Heroic Morale section, because that represents the club that I'm playing with, the Heroic Morale Warhammer Club out of Peculiar, Missouri. So, I'm gonna do a little bit of tournament coverage of the RTT I played in last weekend. Be going over the lists and and the games that I played. So if you're interested in Warhammer 40k, stay tuned and we'll get you some tournament coverage. All right, so I played in an RTT over the weekend. Got 3 good games in. Um, I went 2-1. Spoiler alert, for the coming up episode, or coming up battle report descriptions here. I'm not gonna go crazy in depth over everything that happened, but I'm just gonna give a quick overview of the games and the lists that I played against, and hopefully give you guys a little bit of an idea of how I play 40k. So this was a 10-man RTT. So I took it was a friendly RTT. So not everybody was bringing their most competitive stuff. It was just a club tournament. So I brought a list that I've been wanting to kind of play a little bit, but it's not something I play a lot. So I was kind of new to some of the rules. It was a Custodes and Knight list. I'd never played Imperial Knights before, but I had played Custodes before. So I knew the infantry core part of it, but I didn't know the knights. So, give you a brief overview of the list. I had the Captain General Trajan Valoris as my HQ, and I also had just a shield captain with spear, just a shield captain on foot. So those are my HQs, and this is a battalion detachment of Custodes, and then I had three-man guard squads with Sentinel Blade and Storm Shield as my troops. In the elite slot, I had Vexillus Praetor with the Vexilla Magnifica, the -1 to hit banner. So that really made up all of my infantry. That was it. Then to round out the list, I brought a super heavy detachment with 2 Armiger Helverins and with heavy stubbers and a pair of Knight Gallants. One Knight Gallant was made into my Warlord and had the Armor of Sainted Ion, which is the 4-up invulnerable save, and also had Iron Bulwark to give it the 2-up armor save. I took the extra relic to get the Paragon Gauntlet on one of them, and then the Paragon Gauntlet on one of them, just to get the extra relic. So it was a fun list. I thought it would be pretty competitive, just to use the guard squads to stand on objectives and score me some points, while the knights went in and wrecked people. Then use the armigers to just kind of sit back and do long-range fire support. Sometimes I would, in fact, almost every time, I would spend the command points up front to deep strike in the shield captain and a guard squad. That way, if they had an objective far in their backfield or left an unfortunate hole in their line, I could exploit it with that. Also, I guess I should say, we were playing the ITC Champions missions 4, 5, and 6, where missions 4 and 6 were the old school deployment with where one person deploys their whole army first, and then the next person deploys their whole army, and then the person that deployed first gets to go first unless the other person seizes. Or I guess you don't get to go first. You get to choose whether you go first or second. With my list, I want to go first 99% of the time. There are a few occasions where it's more beneficial for me to go second, but that's not overly common. And against the lists I played against, I didn't find it beneficial to go second. I went first in all of my games. So, my first game was against Greg, and Greg brought Blood Angels. It's really just Imperial soup. It's not what I would consider a full Blood Angels list, but he brought a battalion detachment of Guard, with a company commander, Primaris Psyker, 3 10-man infantry squads. Then he brought the Master of Ordnance, a Basilisk, 3 heavy weapons squad, a heavy weapons squad and a Wyvern. They're the Emperor's Wrath artillery company. He brought a super heavy auxiliary detachment with a Knight Crusader. That's the knight with the battle cannon and assault cannon. And it had the extra heirloom, and it was House Raven, but it's an auxiliary detachment, so it didn't really matter. Except it had the House Raven stratagem. What was the extra relic that he had on this one? I forget. Oh, he had Endless Fury. So it's the relic Gatling cannon that does exploding hits on 6s, which is just stupid. That Avenger Gatling cannon is kind of ridiculous. And then here comes the Blood Angels part of his list. Another battalion detachment with the Captain in Phobos armor, Librarian in Phobos armor, and Lieutenant in Phobos armor for the HQs. And then he's got 2 infiltrator squads and an intercessor squad. Those are 6-man infiltrator squads and a 9-man intercessor squad. He also threw in a scout squad with a heavy support eliminator squad. Two eliminator squads? Oh my goodness, Battle Scribe is hard to read sometimes. Yeah, 2 eliminator squads. So, yeah, that was his list. I gotta say, I wasn't terribly scared of this list. I thought I had a pretty good chance against it. His infantry on the ground are pretty squishy. Even Primaris Marines, I figured my knights could handle. Like I said, I went first in all my games, so I got to go first on this one. Sadly, we got Hammer and Anvil for a deployment. I had to set up my whole army first. Not really a big deal. I don't like Hammer and Anvil deployment for my list. My knights would rather be up in your face turn 1, and it's just not going to happen on the Hammer and Anvil deployment. That's the long tables. So I've got a lot of table to cover for that one. But lucky me, there was a rather large piece of terrain in the middle of the table and some ruins on my back end that I could hide. Mission-wise. There was an objective in the middle and 2 objectives. I had to place one in his deployment zone. He placed one in my deployment zone. And then I placed one in my deployment zone. He placed one in his deployment zone. So there's 2 in each deployment zone and 1 in the middle. The one in the middle was right in the middle of a giant ruin that was in kind of a horseshoe shape. And then there was one good-sized ruin in each corner, and then some scatter terrain around the outside. I threw my home objective in a ruin and tossed a Custodes Guard squad on top of it. He threw both of his objectives, one on his side of the table in a ruin, and then one on my side of the table in the middle of everything, full line of sight of everything. And then my other objective went dead in the middle of the table. It was in a little bit of a terrain, but I hoped he would leave it a little open to where I could get to it with my knights. I didn't want to hide it too much. So, like I said, I placed a Custodes Guard squad in a ruin on an objective. I placed another Custodes Guard squad on the objective that was out in the open, and then gave them the Vexilla, so that they were -1 to hit. So I figured 3 guys with Storm Shields, -1 to hit. He's not going to be able to do much to that. Then I put both my knights square behind that big U-shaped piece of terrain, and I was able to, believe it or not, get cover from most of his army with both knights. It was great. On turn 1, anyway. Didn't end up mattering because I immediately moved them both, but just in case I didn't get first turn, it was pretty cool deployment. My armigers were both off to one side so that they could face off with his Knight Crusader and give long-range fire support and hopefully start stacking up wounds on it. Although, so I also lined up Trajan behind the 2 knights, hoping he could charge in and take the objective in the center of the board. I did mess up when I was choosing secondaries. I took King of the Hill, which I didn't realize you had to have multi-model units to take the center of the board. That's the one where you have to have 2 multi-unit models or multi-model units within 6 inches of the center of the table. So I didn't score that but once in a 6-turn game, which was just stupid. Now that I know what that mission does, I'll probably never take that again, especially not with a list like this. It was just ridiculous. I also took Big Game Hunter and Headhunter for my secondaries. So turn 1, his Knight Crusader is behind a building and is going to get cover from my Helverins. So I don't end up firing my Helverins at his Crusader. So what I do is I move up. He's got one of his scouts. He's got his scout squad has infiltrated in right behind on the other side of the big central ruin from me. And he's basically spread out to where he's got his artillery in one corner and his knight in the other, and then a big old screen of infantry in the middle. And he's got his Phobos snipers in front of his knight. So what I do is I move my knights up, flanking the big centerpiece of terrain, and just smash his scout squad, annihilate them turn 1, and then move Trajan up into the centerpiece of terrain to hold that objective. My armigers, since they can't shoot the knight without taking the -1, then he's going to spend the command point to rotate ion shields, and I'm not going to do a single point of damage to him. I just started unloading into the Phobos snipers. Worried that they'll take on Trajan and my shield captains with their stupid sniper bullets. I critically wound 1 unit of the snipers. Don't do I think I take 3 out of the 5 or something out of it. Do pretty good. Like I said, I annihilate his scout squad that's up front, but don't get as much as I would like. I forgot. He left an 85-point gap to bring a Vindicare assassin in too. So he did have a Vindicare. So his turn 1, he fires, everything he's got at one of my knights, and It's the one with the 2-up armor, 3 or 4-up invul. I rotate ion shields, get a 3-up invul. I take next to no damage. And he does a little bit of fire at one of my infantry squads, the one with the Vexilla, and does next to no damage. So I'm thinking, well, this is pretty good. So I've got hold. We are tied on hold more because Trajan couldn't get quite in range of the center objective, and I got kill more. So I'm already getting good points for this round. So sorry. So go into turn 2. Now's when I feel like I can start doing some damage. So I get both of my knights up into combat. And one crashes into a guardsman screen, and the other one crashes into his other guardsman screen. I do a substantial amount of damage to one of the guardsman screens, and then put him in a position to where I can pile in to his intercessor squad that's in a ruin sitting on top of an objective. And then the other one, if he wipes out that guardsman screen, he'll be able to he'll be able to stay in cover on the opposite side of a ruin from his crusader and make his crusader have to come around to me, or ignore it and shoot at the other knight that has the better armor save. My armigers move up and still don't have a good line of sight on the crusader, so they destroy the last of that sniper squad that was in that building that was going to be dangerous to Trajan. And Trajan moves up, takes that objective, and he's pretty much just going to sit on that objective for the rest of the game. I do really good in melee. Like I said, I wipe out, or I take out probably half of that guard squad with the knight that's going to pile into the intercessors. He auto passes morale, and I end up piling into the intercessors. The other one wipes out that other guard unit completely, just trashes them, and then piles in behind this building to where the crusader can't get to it. It's pretty nice. Since it's my turn 2, I forgot to add, I deep struck in my guard squad and the shield captain into the in front, 9 inches away from his guard screen that the heavily armored knight is taken on. And if the knight can punch a hole in that guard screen, I'll be right through to his basilisk, wyvern, and a good core of his characters. So they're going to go in and assassinate them and then take an objective. So his turn 2, this is when he starts to do some damage. His snipers, completely worthless. They don't do anything all game. And I don't think it's his fault. I think it's the snipers are not all that great. And the fact that my custodians have toughness 5, and so he's wounding on 5s. With 3 wounds, he's just not able to do any damage to my custodians. It's pretty ridiculous. They were a complete waste of points in his list. But his dice were also crap, and he wasn't dealing any wounds to me. What did deal wounds this time is his crusader. It went all out on my heavy armored knight and dealt like 12 or 14 wounds to it. Even with rotate ion shields, it was crazy. Then he smited it, and then he hammered it with a basilisk and a wyvern. And first rank fire, second rank fire on some guardsmen. This thing was down to like 4 or 5 wounds by the end of the turn. I was like, great. So this is my warlord. This is, he's racking up Titan Slayer points on this thing. It's not looking good. But he does leave my other knight that's within striking distance now of his knight completely untouched. He doesn't deal a single point of damage to it, and this is big. Because he just spent his whole turn firing on my knights. So when my knights get to hit back in close combat, he's mobbed up his guardsmen on the screen, so they're, not only fearless, but he's got them back to basically full strength. I ignore the guardsmen completely in close combat and wipe out his intercessor squad that I've piled into. So now that objective is completely clear. And he's no longer holding it. Or at least so I think. Turns out that guardsman squad that is mobbed up that I have just ignored is holding it by like a half an inch. So that pisses me off. But I'll be able to hold that objective next turn pretty easy. I do move my other knight in and assault his crusader at this point and roll like crap. I think I do only 6 or... Yeah, I think I hit him and wound him like 3 times, and that's awesome. And then... Or no, I hit him like 3 times out of 5, and then wound him like twice, and he saves one of them. Either way, I only deal like 6 points of damage the first go round. Sucks. So he's just going to fall back and shoot me again. So, that's no fun. So, going to his turn 3, or going to my turn 3, yeah. So I was able to do that. I was able to get... Man, that was confusing. So I was able to get into his lines there. And so I'm really keeping the pressure on. My armigers are doing their thing. The knight that is taken over, my one knight takes out the rest of his guardsmen and leaves a hole for my armigers to start punching into his artillery. My custodian guard are also pinching his artillery on the other side and clear out the rest of those guardsmen there. Again, his snipers are doing nothing in that building, and I'm just able to push and push and push and just completely break through to him. The win feels really good when it comes down to the final turns. I feel like I've got him on the ropes, but when the final points tally up, I only win 19-16. So it turns out to be a really close game. It was a super fun game. I never felt like I was just carrying away the game. In the later turns, I felt like I could have. I could have just... Because his Crusader was limping around, and he didn't have any boots on the ground left, hardly at all. So I felt like the table didn't represent how close the game was in points. Either way, it was a great game. I had a lot of fun. Greg's a good opponent. I would gladly play him anytime. So my round 2, I play Sean and his AdMech. I don't have Sean's list in front of me because he was a last minute ad, didn't get it posted, and for some reason I didn't get any paper copy of his list. So I'm going to try to go over it to the best of my ability from memory. I know he had 2 Onager Dune Crawlers, one with the Icarus Array, and one with the, what is it called? The Ion Cannon, I think. He had a couple groups of Skitarii Rangers. He had Belisarius Call and a Tech Priest Dominus. He had a squad of 5 or 6 Castellan robots and a Knight Crusader. I think he was all Mars, and I don't know what kind of relics or anything he took. Can't remember. So, against Sean, we got to play on the same table, same deployment. This time we got to do alternating deployment. Didn't matter much. I really liked the way I deployed against Greg on this table in this deployment, so I did it again. Almost identical. Um, this one, the mission was I had uh, I had a an objective in my deployment zone. He had one in his deployment zone. There was one in the middle, um, and you got points for holding the one in your deployment zone. Or no, you got points for holding your opponent's. Oh no, it was. This is the one that has four objectives. Two in mine, two in his. One in yours is a primary, and one in his is his primary. You get bonus points for holding your opponent's primary. So I do basically the same thing. I hold two guard squads back, put one in deep strike with a shield captain, frontline my knights and Trajan to go into his lines, along with the armigers to advance. He screens out with a ranger squad in front of his characters and Belisarius Call right behind his big Castellan line. His Castellans are dead up front. They're completely shooty. He's got his Knight Crusader off to one side and his two Dragoon Crawlers not far behind Belisarius to take advantage of his rerolls. So I figure since he's castled up in the middle of the table and he's got a bunch of shots, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and I'm going to charge both my knights dead into him. And then use my armigers to clean up the flanks and hopefully deep strike some Custodes in to take his primary objective. It turns out that's exactly what goes down. Turn 2, I'm able to pull off a fantastic charge with my warlord into his Castellan robots, and I use his Paragon Gauntlet to crush 4 of his robots, and then I am able to roll the, I think it's a 4-up on all 4 of them, and so I pick them up with the gauntlet and throw them, dealing 4d3 mortal wounds to Belisarius Call. So not only do I completely decimate his Castellan robot front screen, but I kill Belisarius Call with mortal wounds with the Paragon Gauntlet before I even have to charge him. It was fantastic. And to boot, because I've got all that armor, I only took like 2 or 3 wounds in Overwatch. It wasn't even that bad at all. It was a beautiful trade. It was one of the most 40k thematic things I've ever done in a game. We both laughed about it. It was super cool. I felt kind of bad because at this point, you know the game's not going to go well. His firebase just got decimated on turn 2. I've also got one of his objectives pinned down with a Custodian Guard squad. My armigers are hammering his knight. I'm able to by turn 3, I haven't barely had any damage dealt to my knights. I've lost an armiger. And he's deep struck in. Oh, he had like 2 squads of Electro Priests. He has deep struck in 1 squad of Electro Priests right on top of one of my guys. Charges in and just blasts them. I mean, those things deal out some crazy mortal wounds, and it is disgusting when they get to where they're going. So my backlines are actually contested at this point, but I'm like, screw it. My guards can hold my own lines. I'm going to keep the pressure on. So, like turn 3 comes around, and I charge in to his Crusader with a wounded knight, his Knight Crusader, and I blow up. In Overwatch, which freaking sucks. But I blow up and take him with me. And it's pretty cool. I do a lot of damage to everything around me. It's nice. And then my warlord comes in, cleans up the whole flank, and takes out his knight. Or my armigers take out his knight, and it's great. I'm still dealing with Electro Priests in my back line. It looks like I'm not going to be able to push one of the squads off of one of my objectives, but it's not my primary, thank God. He failed a charge to get to my primary, And then Trajan Valoris was able to pull a U-turn off the center of the table and come back and charge and destroy the squad that failed that charge. So he really pulled his weight on this mission. Yeah, so I've got one knight left, like one armiger left, and they're over on his side of the table just mopping stuff up. I'm scoring, kill more, hold more every turn. I maxed out my secondaries, and it's pretty much a slaughter. By turn 5, we pretty much see where this is going, and I end up taking that game 34-18. Sean plays a good game. Sean's a really fun opponent, and I like seeing Admech on the table. We talked out some things he could have done differently. Tactically, I think his list was outdone by mine. I don't think he had the tools to take me out. So yeah, we talked a little bit about some things that he could do a little bit differently, but super fun game. I always enjoy playing him. Round 3. So I'm 2-0 and right on the verge of being able to take second place. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to take first because my third round opponent won both of his games huge. So I'm right on the verge of second place, but there's like 3 other guys in the running. Most games are winning, are really close, and I haven't blown out both of my games. So I go into this game, and it's against Andre. Now, Andre is a really good player, and he's just super competitive and plays a really tight game. And I walked up to the table, and I'd had lunch with him, and so I knew about his list, and I knew what it could do, and we had talked, and it was just like, man, if I had to fight your list, I'm not sure what I can do. And he talked me through it a little bit, and we both just basically determined, yeah, I'm not sure that there's anything I can do against his list. Andre is playing Chaos Space Marines, and in this tournament, the new leaked rules off of the Warhammer community page were being allowed, so all the new stuff from the Chaos Codex 2 that was going to be released were legal. So let me go through his list a little bit. It's off Battlescribe here. Let's see. He has a battalion with 2 warp smiths, with bolt pistol flamer, melt a gun, and a power axe. He's got a Chaos Space Marine, 2 Chaos Space Marine units, 5-man. 3 Chaos Space Marine units, 5-man. Then he's got, and those are, and then he's got another battalion detachment, Alpha Legion, with 2 Masters of Possession, one with Cursed Earth and Force Stave Infernal Powers. So Cursed Earth and Infernal Power. Wow, Battlescribe does this really weird. And the other one with Mutated Invigoration and Sacrifice. Troops are 3 squads of cultists, 2 of 40 cultists, 1 of 13 cultists, I think is what that is. Hard to tell. 1 Greater Possessed, and 1 Hellforged Leviathan Dreadnought, which twin Butcher Cannon arrays, a squad of 3 Obliterators, and a Supreme Command Detachment, Alpha Legion, of 3 Sorcerers, 1 with Jump Pack, and that brings him up to 2,000 points exactly. So let me tell you why this list sucks so bad against me. Those Obliterators are disgusting. I mean, they are broken bad. with all the buffs that he can lay down, with all of those psychers, he can bring them up to where they are hitting on twos, wounding on twos on my knights, re-rolling some stuff, and that with the variable damage and everything they can do, yeah, there's a lot of random stuff, but with his characters and the psychic powers and the stratagems, he can just basically auto kill a knight a turn. It's bad. I mean, it's real bad. And the table we played on, he was able to get all of his cultists inside buildings, infiltrated forward with the Alpha Legion traits, and so even if he left his characters clear out in the open, there was nothing I could do about it. I couldn't shoot him because he had cultists tucked inside buildings that were closer targets. My knights couldn't get inside most of the buildings, so there wasn't much I could do there. Again, with the hammer and anvil deployment, so I've got a long table to trek across, so I'm going to have to leave my knights out in the open for one whole turn for the obliterators to shoot me. Then to boot, he's able to bring in that jump captain, or not jump captain, but jump sorcerer or whatever it is, to friggin' smash my face in if I don't take him out. He's got a little bit of smite, but that's not what he's using his characters for the most part. So, turn one, I go first, because I'm like, well, screw it. I gotta go first. I have to try to do something. Move up the table. I take a couple objectives, and so I score a couple of points. I don't kill anything, and I basically just stand there, looking like a dummy. And his first turn, he jumps those obliterators forward. He repositions some stuff to make sure that they're in the buildings properly, and then he just cuts loose with those obliterators. Knocks down my Warlord Knight. Rotate Ion Shields doesn't matter because he's got Death Hex, so I don't get an invul save. He's hitting me like AP 3, so I've got a 6-up friggin' save. And that knight's gone. 24 wounds, 1 shooting phase. So yeah, that sucks. Not only does it go down, it blows up. So I have to spend one of my few command points to get the damn thing to not blow up and take my armigers with it. Well, psychic power later, he's shooting them again. Not a psychic power, but a command points later, he's shooting those things the second time. Well, he takes out another armiger and critically wounds another one. So this is just ridiculous. I'm now down my Warlord and an armiger, and now my teeth have been pulled. So I deep strike in one of my Custodian Guard squads, try to root out a cultist squad. It doesn't work. His jump captain comes in, slays most of my guys. I retreat my other knight just to keep him from getting some points, and move another Custodian Guard squad forward to take a second objective. And then he's going to move forward, and at this point, I know I'm so on the ropes, we just basically talk out the last 3 turns. Or last 4 turns. Because I know my knight's going to die the very next turn. I know my next Custodian Guard squad is going to die that turn as well. And it's one more turn before he comes up, blows up my last armiger, and takes out my last Custodian Guard squad. I'm tabled by turn 4. At the best. Tabled by turn 4. This game is just... perfect counter to my list. Chaos Space Marines are crazy good. I'm not sure that there's anything I could have done different to make that game go better. I mean, there's a reason I didn't go into what objective we had and what secondaries I took, because it just didn't matter. I don't think I scored any of my secondaries anyway. So that game came down to a crushing loss of 40-7. I mean, 40-7. I mean, that's just a bad game. That's a real bad game. So, Anyway, it was a fun game. I like playing Andre. He just brought a really good list. And for anyone tracking the current 40k meta, I think Chaos is going to make a huge difference. Everyone keeps talking about how Knights have dominated and how no one can take down Knights and all of this. Chaos has the solution, and it's Obliterators. It's Obliterators and Psychers. He had 3 Obliterators in his list and was able to do that to my Knights. You can take up to 9 Obliterators in a Chaos army and have all of those. So, and if the rumors hold true, Obliterators are going down in points too with the Codex coming out. Now, I don't expect that to hold. I think that'll get nerfed really fast. But it's just ridiculous to think, that I was doing so well in the other games and then just go in and get smashed by that list. It was just crazy. Still a fun game. I have no problem with it. Not a bad deal. But like I said, because there was a couple other guys in close running and I took a really bad loss in my last round, I ended up taking 4th place. So it bumped me out of the top 3. I was a little disappointed about that because this is my first RTT of the ITC season. So I was really hoping to post up a pretty good score and get my season off to a good start. But 2-1, not bad. I've never won an RTT, so it's not like this was a big crushing defeat for me or anything. It's just I would have liked to have pulled a better score. I got 2,060 Swiss points. That's not so bad. So hopefully going into the rest of the ITC season, I can pull out some more points. So to give you guys an idea, I am 1,062nd place in the world in the ITC. With only 1 score at 92.9 points. And I am 141st in the Midwest. And let's see. The Heroic Morale Warhammer Club is 46th in the world. So that's pretty good. Oh no, I'm sorry. We are 46th in the Midwest and 313th in the world. So we're in the top 50% in the world. I'm, I think, top 50% for my personal score. So I'm hoping to, keep pushing along, have a good ITC season. Like I said, this was just my first RTT, so I've still got a couple more scores to earn. I also plan on hitting a couple majors this year. The first of which will be, Memorial Day weekend on the Midwest Conquest GT in Kansas City. I'm hoping this will be my first major ever, so I'm really hoping that I'll be able to do good and put up a decent score there. It's a 5-round tournament over 2 days. I'm really thinking I can probably... I'm thinking 2 and 3 is easy. I'm hoping I can get a 3 and 2. If I could pull out a 3 and 2 at Midwest Conquest, I would be ecstatic. I think that would be amazing. But I'm going in with realistic expectations of 2 and 3, 3 and 2. I think it'd be great. Also, I'm just glad to be representing Heroic Morale. I think it's pretty cool to be part of a team. I think we're going to have 4 or 5 people represented at Midwest Conquest. It should be a really good time. I'm also looking at going to the Show Me Showdown in July. I think it's Show Me Showdown's in July. And the Flying Monkey GT in June. I think for The Midwest Conquest, I'm probably going to end up taking my Custodes and Knights list again, even though I'm not sure that it's the best list I could take. I could probably do to change out the Custodes for Imperial Guard and do better. But I just like the look, and I like the play style. It's super fun. So I'm probably just gonna stick with this list or slight variations on this list. But for Flying Monkey and Show Me Showdown, I would like to get my Gene Stealer Colts up and running. I think they're really competitive, and I think they've got a lot of potential in the competitive scene. But I've got a long ways to go before I can get them assembled and painted, because unlike my local RTTs that don't have a painting requirement, these big GTs do. So they're going to have a 3-color minimum, and I am a very slow painter. I enjoy painting, but it's not my primary hobby. So getting Gene Stealer Colts together and painted, get 2,000 points put together by Midwest Conquest is not going to happen. But maybe by June, I can get them put together and painted, at least get some, basic colors on them and get them ready to go. Because I have almost next to nothing ready to go for that. But, so, yeah, you're going to probably see me playing Custodes and Knights right now. Maybe some Imperial Guard and Knights. So, I hope this tournament season goes well. So, I'd like to go over a little bit of hobby progress, I guess. Even though that's the name of the show, here at the end. So here lately, I have been working on my Gene Stealer Colts. I've managed to get a couple squads of, a big squad of Acolyte hybrids ready to go. I'm got an Achilles Ridge Runner built, and I got my Jackal Alphys built. He's the guy on the bike with a sniper rifle. Super cool. I'm really loving this model line so far. The Gene Stealer Colts are awesome. I'm hoping to get a little bit more hobby done on those soon. So keep an eye out on the Hobby Progress Facebook page, and you'll be able to see pictures of those. I may even do some slideshow stuff on the YouTube channel where you're watching this. So, keep a lookout for those. Also, if you've been watching us on the YouTube, come on and check us out over on Facebook, and you'll be able to see all the pictures and updates on all of that. Also, if you're in the Kansas City area, come and check out the Heroic Morale Warhammer Club on Facebook, and come and check us out. We play every Thursday night at Peculiar Games and Hobbies. It's super fun. It's a great club. We always have a good time, and we try to do RTTs and events monthly, some learn to play classes and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's pretty much my hobby progress. So, yeah, if you like the format or have any suggestions or anything you'd like to hear, please email at hobbyprogress@gmail.com or leave a comment below the video. Please like and subscribe here on YouTube, and like I said, come check us out on Facebook. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.